Okay, thanks for waiting. We were waiting for some guests, and there's still some of them on their way. But we're going to start anyway. I know this is your last day here before you go to a nice travel trip to Albania. But we'll do the boring speeches, ceremony, and diplomas and everything first. So I'm going to introduce the speakers. The first, you've seen him around. He was our acting president for the last 4 or 5 months, Sean. It seems like you've been here for a year. But Sean is also a member of our board at A.U.K. And these are also his last days as the acting president, and I'll introduce the next speaker after that. But it's my pleasure to introduce Sean because he was one of the people who started the program. You know, this is the 4th year, but one of the people who started the idea with some of the people you've already met, which I'm going to speak about later. But without further ado, I would like to ask Sean Burns to share some thoughts with us on this occasion.
Thank you, Sven. Let me begin with an apology. We are starting late. I know you're all eager to get your diplomas and your certificates, and like me, you're eager also to get to the barbecue. So we'll try to get you there quickly. The second point I want to make is thank you. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, faculty, for helping organize this. Thank you for making this the best summer program in conflict prevention and peace building that we've had. This is, as Sven noted, this is the 4th year we've done it. I had the misfortune not to teach this year for the first time, and that's my one regret about this year's program. But it's clear from talking to you and talking to faculty and just looking at the amount of attention and understanding the amount of attention you put into this. This is the best group we've had. So I'd like to thank you specifically for being the best group. We had the best quality of students, and that's, believe me, I taught the first three years, and that's, I'm not polishing the doorknob. That's true. You are the best group of students we've had from a quality standpoint, so thank you. This is also the most diverse group, and it's been, according to faculty, it's been the most engaged group. So I hope you'll come back from it. Best of all, I think that you helped the program achieve its goals. And that goal was to enable you to get a deeper understanding of, if what you will, of this cockpit of conflict and now integration and peace building. The simple fact that you made a lot of friendships and a lot of contacts, you got past your stereotypes in the first couple of weeks and are leaving here with a variety of friendships and email addresses and phone numbers, tells me that we succeeded. So again, thank you. Before I turn this over and introduce our new president, I'd like to reverse the order and say thank you. It's always the last but not least. I'd like to start off with, so to speak, the least. I'd like to thank Myoma Aslani, who's sitting here in the front row, who made this happen. Her hard work demonstrated that she probably could have taught a course in conflict or stress management. Anyway, thank you, Myoma. You did a great job. And I'm not joking. As I told you, I don't give humorous speeches. This is serious. I'd like to thank our program director, Sven Lameti, for everything he's done and his availability. I think you all appreciate it. And finally, I want to point out that and thank those institutions that contributed to funding that enabled a lot of you to come. One of our donors just walked in, Aki Abazi from the Rockefeller Fund Foundation. A big grant enabled us to bring a number of students here on full scholarship. I'd like also to thank the British Embassy for its support. I'd like to thank the Norwegian Embassy. Their representatives aren't here, but they contributed funds that enabled this program to happen again this year. Last but not least, I'd like to thank my embassy, which also contributed a lot of money. Again, thank you all very much for coming. Thank you for contributing and participating. Please spread the word when you go home. We're going to do this next year. If you got something out of this, if you think it's a worthwhile program, tell your friends. With that, let me introduce the incoming president of American University in Kosovo, coming from A.U.K, the American University in Kuwait, Dr. Winfred Thompson.
It's a pleasure for me to be here and address you this morning, though you may be comforted to know that I have not been at A.U.K long enough to develop material to give a long speech. I did arrive in time to sign your certificates, and that will remain as my first official act as the president of A.U.K. Unfortunately, I did not get here in time to plan to go on the trip with you, which had I been here a little earlier, I might have been able to do. Looking out over this group of young people and knowing a little bit about the very varied backgrounds that you come from brings me back in a way to the different kind of environment that you're growing up in compared to the one that I grew up in some years ago. I grew up in the state of Arkansas in the United States, which some of you will be familiar with, many of you will not. And if you are familiar with it, it's probably because of the gentleman whose picture is downstairs in the building. Bill Clinton, who brought the state the most publicity it's ever had, and not all of it good. But I grew up in Arkansas and never left that state until I was a teenager. I grew up on a farm. All the people I knew were people just like me. They were all Protestants. They were all white. They all spoke English. Very few of them had done much traveling in the world either. Today, young people are growing up in a very different environment. Such news as we got about the world came in a weekly newspaper, once a week, and mail that came 5 days a week by rural delivery. Rural free delivery, it was called at the time. Today you have the miracles of the internet, the web of instant communication throughout the world, and therefore it gives you a far different perspective on some of the issues that you've been dealing with in the program. Now, personally, I think it is yet to be seen whether or not the kind of advances in communication and technology ultimately will result in a more peaceful world or a more dangerous world. But if programs such as this are successful, and if regions such as this can continue to have positive and peaceful development, then there's a great deal more hope for the world and hopefully a peaceful and prosperous future for all. I would like to express appreciation to the faculty and staff who have worked on the program, to the sponsors who made it possible, and to all of you for participating. So that I could learn just a little bit more about you. How many of you are from, how do I break it up here? How many of you are from the Western Hemisphere? North America. Anybody from South America or Latin America? Europe. Depend on how one defines Europe anyone from the Middle East? Asia? I'm not going to attempt to break down Europe at this point, but it's good to see so many of you from different parts of the world participating in the program. I hope you found it valuable, and we will look forward to even greater success for the program in the future. Thank you very much. The person that you know better than I do in any event at this point should be on the line.
Thank you, Rick. Sean already thanked, but I'm going to use this opportunity to thank the sponsors once more, the British Embassy, American Embassy, Norwegian Embassy, and the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, who helped, who made this happen. I'm going to ask Haki Abazi to speak to us. If you remember, he spoke 4 weeks ago in this initial lunch. It seems so distant in time, but also it's an opportunity for you to now compare him before you took the program and what he says now. Maybe he makes more sense. I'm joking, Haki, please.
Thank you, Sven. I said on Sunday, that Sunday when we met for the first time, that actually Sven always does this to me. So I thought he's going to miss this opportunity, but no. Sven is Sven. And you know what Sven means, right?
Bird.
Bird. He flies all the time. You cannot catch him. But I guess when I spoke that in that kind of Sunday when my brain tends to not to think, I said one thing, that let's try to be the generation that will actually recognize what a great opportunity it is to not repeat the mistake of 100 years ago to identify this region with war. And I think really Sarajevo is going to be the center of the universe next year, trying to evaluate from an academic point of view, from a kind of individual point of view, from a forces, ugly and good forces in the world, and what it means to live 100 years without kind of thinking to go back to the World War I. The World War II happened, so I hope World War III never will happen. And it's individually our duty to make that sure, that our mind, our power, our thinking goes into building a better world for ourselves, to begin with, our families, communities, nations, to live peacefully. But what I'm going to say today, which is completely related to that, and what I learned in my kind of experience being a Kosovar and having different luck to have different experiences around the world, from Afghanistan and Indonesia, and now living in the United States, you know, like my graph is really crazy. It's take for granted anything that you can possible. Your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your parents, your neighbors. Don't take for granted one thing: time. I think if we miss the presence of ourselves in time and giving the contribution we need to give to the time, to our existence, we're just breathing the oxygen for nothing. And really, we cannot be human beings ignorant to the process in the world. And the process happened in time. It happened that you exist in this time. You are the ones to take the lessons and make your position and recognize where that center of gravity in the world it is. And yes, we do have a lot of dishonest processes in the world, and discriminations and corruption and criminality. But that doesn't mean that we, on the other side, cannot be powerful enough to stay true to the human values and those sets of values that actually keep the world going in a progressive, positive direction. Being on the fighting climate change or dismantling governments that are deeply corrupted and criminal in their essence, trying to manipulate what we promote as democracy and participation in the world. But again, things happen in time. We either leave a good mark of our existence and our contribution, or we're just human beings producing more CO2 in the world. So don't miss your chance. And I hope this has been a good opportunity for you guys to rethink maybe some of the positions. You either get rich and stay there in a bad way, or you get rich with your knowledge and be part of the community. And it's always better to be with people surrounded. So thanks again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Aki. This has been, I teach at A.U.K for the last 9 years, but this has been my first year with the summer program. So I can say for sure that this was the best program ever, and you were the best students ever. But certainly you know, I hope that you've learned something in post-conflict transformation and that you can now come back and teach us, because we certainly have not figured it out. If you ever feel bored, you can come to this place and still talk about post-conflict transformation. I'm joking a little bit, but I hope that during these 4 weeks we have broken stereotypes. And for me, the most important one was for everybody who is not from the Balkans to come here and understand that we are not some crazy, violent people who like to kill each other, and we have just stopped for a certain period of time and we will continue again in the future. But I hope that you have seen that we are the same as everywhere else, and that these types of conflict can happen almost anywhere, and hence the importance of post-conflict transformation and making sure that those conflicts never repeat again. I'm certainly honest when I say that I hope to see you all back in Kosovo in different capacities, maybe also to teach, to help us understand, maybe even participate in summer programs like this again. I'm just going to take a few moments to thank our professors. It's good to recap in terms of who was here with us in our course on intervention. Jock Covey, Mike Hess, and Mike Ježić was also here with us. So, on our course on history of the Balkans and also on interventions, Louis Sell and Aidan Harir. So a round of applause for them. On our course on human rights, Florence Hartman, Soren Jessen-Petersen, and Shukriye Goshik, who's here. Also on our economics course, Hajdar Korbi, Rosetta Hajdari, Besnik Bistimi, and myself. So without further ado, we will start giving out the diplomas, but first I would like to thank a few special people in this program. It's very easy to be program director when there are other people working on it and they are doing a great job. So you just take the credit at the end that you were program director, but it's really other people who have done the work. Sean has already thanked her, but special thanks to Miel Manslari, who's the real program director here. And a few people who you've seen, you've hanged out with, without whom the program would not be possible. Special thanks to the 2 people in the back, 2 persons. Jack Fleming and Engin Abja. Without them, this would not all be possible. Thank you from the program, thank you from all of us for making this possible. We have a few certificates first to give to you. To help me, if she can read out the names so that we can give the diplomas to everyone.
Amanda Paulson. Arka Zümberi. Bakir Koşkiç. Başkir Grečevci. Brian Thompson. Mehmeti. Damjan Jugović. Đorđe Bojović. Dirk Westhoek. Dina Milovanović. Edita Arslani. Engin Avcı. Eşref Hacıyo. Elena Osmani. Erblina Morina. Esat Sahiti. Titon Castroati. Fritz Brauer. With a Dutch accent. Ivana Božić. Jan van Dorp. John Henry Foger. Kemal Haliti. Krishnik Kachaniko. Kimberly Bialik. Did I say that right? No. Good. We'll talk about it later. Okay, Kristen Belen Garcia Morales. Katerina Karagatsanis. Carrie Oliveira, RIT. Girian Hassani. Macy Ferguson. Mikaela Nohayova. Mary Cachavos. Maria Gabrielo. Nicola Burazer. Chandresa Imeri. Rosine Forscher. Now I got a long name. Romani Frederic Snip. Romy Snip. Samir Radončić. Stefan Radojković. Taylor Bennett. Balona Sonay. Željko Rapovac.
I hope you didn't forget anyone. What?
Rona. We're sorry, Rona.
You failed the course, that's fine. And I also want to apologize because before when I introduced students, I said we had students from United States, Netherlands, Croatia, Bosnia, Greece. But I forgot always to mention Canada, so I will Please take my apology. I will now say we had students from Canada as well. Oh. I would please ask all of you to join me here now on stage to take a group picture before we go for the barbecue. So please, you can all, let's have a barbecue.